I have an idea. No, it's a proposal. No, it's a challenge. So, as we all know, Black History Month is done. And by done, I mean we are done celebrating our history 1 month out of the year. It hasn't been said formally, but I think we're all on the same page that the tides have shifted significantly enough that it is time for us to celebrate our excellence in our history all year round relentlessly. And anyone who has a problem with that can kick rocks barefoot. But that's not the challenge. My challenge to you is to boycott the 4th of July this year. Have the day off from work, take the day to yourself, but the Independence Day celebration, the big cookout, the big blowout, the big kickoff to the summer is on June 19th. That is the true American Independence Day. So what say you? Let's celebrate Juneteenth instead of the 4th of July this year.
My advice to everyone is to question everything. Everything this Western society has taught you. Julius Caesar committed arguably the worst atrocity known to mankind. He is single-handedly responsible for destroying hundreds of thousands of years of history by burning down a library in Egypt. Why would you burn down a library? What are you trying to hide? The Library of Alexandria, to be exact, which is named after Alexander the Great, who also had a hand in destroying hundreds of thousands of years of African history. The esteemed Napoleon, mind you, who was defeated by Toussaint Louverture and the Haitians, also came into Egypt and defaced all of the sculptures representing any type of African features. How far back do you think whitewashing goes? Then people have the nerve to say that because Europe colonized America and Africa, that the original Egyptians were not black. By that logic, I guess white Americans represent what Native Americans should look like today, right? Why have we been written out of history and why do we accept it? Why does Buddha have bantu nuts and stretched earlobes? Isn't that an African tradition? Why do the Olmec heads in America have lips and nostrils thicker than mine? We are the original people, the originators of everything. Our history doesn't start with slavery. It was just erased up until that point.
Black folks, we've busted our asses helping these little anchor baby mammies and bed wenches bring their little asses over here. Do you know how much we've sacrificed to bring these little disrespectful asses over here? And I ain't talking about all my brothers and sisters. We got some good brothers and sisters who come through, but them right there, that's a problem. I want you to show me one video of a foundational black American going to an African country, sitting up here talking shit about the people like that. I don't want my hard fucking work and taxes going to bring over more mammies that's going to undermine me and my people. I have a say to where my tax dollars go. And guess what? I don't want it going to Jollof mammies and oxtail coons. I don't want my tax dollars going there. I'm not busting my ass out here working as hard as I do, getting up every morning, running businesses so that Unduge, little bedwenching ass, can come over here and eat up all our shit and then turn around talking about how hard she done work and niggas are lazy. Fuck out of here. We work hard as foundational black Americans, man. We work very hard and our tax dollars are funding these coons.
A lot of folks are talking about critical race theory and have no idea what that term means. Let me break it down. Dr. Ian Haney Lopez argues that critical race theory can be best understood by what it is responding to, namely liberal race theory. Liberal race theory is essentially the idea that racism is an individual ignorance problem. That if we had less bigots, we'd have less racism and historically marginalized groups would flourish. In other words, get rid of the N-word users, become more colorblind, and we're Gucci. Side note, some of y'all still believe that. Critical race theory says, yes, we can agree that the bigots are a problem, but I think there's more to racism than individual prejudice. Critical race theory essentially argues that racism is embedded into different parts of society, like the law and policy and systems. And it offers tools like impact analysis and listening to marginalized voices as important strategies to uncover and uproot racism. Dr. Imani Perry says that critical race theory is a way to understand the mechanics of racial inequality and how the law might be imagined to address those inequalities. Hopefully that helps. Like and follow for more.
Bill Lee, the former air conditioning salesman turned Tennessee state governor and poster boy for white fragility, has signed a bill banning the teaching of critical race theory in K-12 classrooms. Critical race theory is the idea that racism in our nation is systemic. It says that you really don't understand racism until you look at the laws and the power structures and all the systems that have created and supported it. It explores how racism has shaped public policy. Banning critical race theory is a whitewashing of history. It's a pathetic attempt to suppress the truth. Look, I really want to believe that not all Republicans are racist, but I can't find enough evidence to make that a viable theory. Critical race theory, however, is viable and has plenty of evidence. Fortunately, I teach college. We're not held to the same restrictions as K through 12. Guess what I'll be teaching this fall?
Just because I do not want critical race theory taught to my children in school does not mean that I'm a racist, damn it!
Let me see if I have this right, Karen. But you do not want your children taught about critical race theory because it teaches that race is a social construct that was used to exploit and oppress people of color, and how that system is still in place today and we need to dismantle it, right? But you had no problem with your children learning that manifest destiny was a natural expansion of the American borders without mentioning the million of indigenous people it wiped out in the process. Romanticizing the relationship between Thomas Jefferson and a 14-year-old Sally Hemings, that Abraham Lincoln was the great emancipator, that the Civil War was about states' rights while conveniently leaving out it was the states' rights to own slaves. Anybody gonna tell her? Karen, either you're ignorant or racist and ignorant. The choice is yours.
Everyone, welcome to the Five Black Comment. Desi loves that song. I know Kevin wants something more hardcore. That something more militant.
Would kick it off.
Very militant. I have ideas.
You know, believe me, I've been searching for another audio to go with the with our promo, but so far I can't come up with anything that really hits. So for now, we gotta stick with that. But I'm working on it.
We gotta shell out some money to Flavor Flav and get that fight to power. That's all.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right, Flav, if you're watching, I mean,
see, Flav wasn't even in charge of the group. Somehow he outlasted all the founders of the group.
Yep. We need to reach out to Chuck D. I think Flav was just a hype man, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, boy.
Chuck D's the man to reach out to.
Chuck D's the man, yeah. So Chuck D, if you're watching, reach out to the Five Black Comment. If you just need 10 seconds, that's all, brother. Welcome to the show today. Today we're going to be discussing critical theory and Juneteenth. Why do people have a problem with it? In my humble opinion, critical race theory, as far as my research, it teaches us about how systematic racism affects people of color. In my opinion, that would help America a lot, because it would help people understand why people of color are in the streets, why we're protesting, why we're so upset, why we're so, as well, they say angry, but I would say frustrated, why we're so frustrated with the system. I think critical race theory would explain that, would explain how differently people of color are treated when they try to open a business, when they try to get a loan, just typical everyday things that most people take for granted. Most white people in America take for granted, that comes natural to them. It's not the same for us. So in my opinion, critical race theory would help explain that. And I think it would be an asset to America to let critical race theory be taught in schools. I don't see a downside to it. And I don't understand why there's so much pushback. If you watch the video with the white lady at the town hall that was literally coming close to tears, saying that just because she doesn't want race theory taught to her kids doesn't mean she's racist. It doesn't mean you're racist, but
It kind of does. It kind of does.
You know,
What's it mean?
No, it means you're a racist. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I think some people have what I don't know what we see as racist. People don't think, you know what I mean. Just because I hung a guy from a tree doesn't mean I don't like black people.
Right.
Basically,
Yeah, I think that's what people think racism is. That they think, well, I didn't lynch anybody, I didn't own slaves, and I didn't take a whip and beat anybody. So how you call me racist?
Yes. What benefits do I have? What privilege do I have?
Yeah, so people get very defensive.
Let's compare your credit score to mine.
Ku Klux Klan robe and everything. It's
Right, yeah, that's why white people, even white friends that I have, get very defensive when you bring up race, because it's like, oh no, I wasn't involved. I know, but you know what I mean. But anyway, so Tanya, I'm gonna go to you first today, since you were the first one to join me in the bathroom. Critical race theory. Why are people against it? You know what I mean? I never understand why people are against, because basically what I have seen for my 30 plus years in America, through everything that I have seen, there's one reoccurring theme I get from all the protests, all the the protests, all the people yelling and screaming. Treat us fairly. Be fair. 2 words, be fair. Every protest, everything you see black people protesting in America, I get one thing out of it. Be fair. That's all black people are saying in America. Just be fair. You know, go ahead, Tanya.
Well, here's the first thing. This is why I think people fear it, because if we teach that, right, that sounds great for us. But think about all the people who had ancestors who owned slaves and did all those horrific things. So now they got to go backpedal with all the history that they've told for generations to their family. Like if I'm a family member of Christopher Columbus, yeah, your cousin Christopher did, your great grandcousin, whatever, did such and such. Yeah, he was such and such. And now if you start teaching that in school, guess what? That family now has to backpedal and say, well, okay, he was a little drunk and he stumbled on it. Okay, fine. But so it becomes like, while it's great for our children, for other children whose parents are not honest and not going to be honest, now they got to backpedal and they got to go through all that stuff and go home and have these conversations that are like, well, it's a little weird, because how are you going to go back and tell your 13-year-old now? I mean, for me, I could do it. If they said, okay, you've been doing this wrong and you have to go back, I have no problem with sitting my kids down at the table and say, hey, listen, Mom was going by whatever I was taught, and this is how we're going to do it now, and this is how allegedly it is now. I'm just saying I could do it, but there's many people. That's because human nature, I believe, we have a hard time just accepting that we messed up, or that we actually believed it, or the fact that we wake up and find out everything we know is a lie. Any human being has a problem with that. So you can imagine the people that are fighting hard, they're like, oh, heck no. Oh, no, because now they got to do double the work, and they're scared of the work. They're scared of it. And it's a diversion, which is why they throw in, they're going to teach my kids to be gay, and they're going to teach my kids, what's the other one? They're going to teach my kids something else they put in there. I heard a board meeting the other day, and I was shocked. I was like, what did you just say? And what kills me about this, you even have immigrants chiming in on this. I was like, wait a minute, where'd you say you came from? I don't know where she came from. Croatia, somewhere, I don't know. Somewhere that's another torn country. That's a communist country. This particular woman came from. She had the nerve to say, in her thickest of all beautiful accents, that, I came here to this country for freedom, and I'll leave if I cannot have my freedom. This is like a communist country now, that they're going to teach this to kids in my school, and that we should treat police officers better. I was like, whoa, you're getting off subject here. We were talking about teaching the real history and the real stuff that happened. We weren't talking about police officers at this point, and we weren't talking about all the other stuff that you're throwing in there. So it's a diversion that the higher ups, I believe, throw in, so that when they get down to the parents of the school, because when you tell them to your kids, everybody gets like, what'd you say? What are we going to teach my kids? Everybody gets defensive, because that's mother hen thing. I think it's there's fear going on. There's now, how am I going to reverse this lie? Oh my gosh. And I mean, because people know when they're wrong, but they want to keep it going. There's some people that just will die before they not let this lie, go on. That's why they don't want critical race theory, because it means that if I'm wrong, if my ancestors was wrong, then what does that mean for me? Instead of saying, well, I didn't do it, let me see how I can correct what they did and make this better for everybody. That's what I would be thinking, but that's not what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, Desi, I'm going to come to you next, but it's about righting a wrong, right?
Yes.
It's about,
yes.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Tanya.
I'm sorry. One other point about the reason why I mentioned the woman, and I have no problem with anybody immigrating to this country. I'm one of them people that don't want the wall built. So let me just put that out there. But when you come to this country, do not, she said this. Oh, no, it was another woman, another immigrant woman who was from, I think, Somalia, judging by her accent only. I don't know that for a fact, but it sounded, she was dark like me and sounded like she was from Somalia. I'm going to take that good guess. But she was saying how her family came here with 2 cents and they did this and they did that and they had nothing. They cannot believe how African Americans are so ungrateful of all this great land and this great police officers. And I mean, everybody throws in the police officer part, which is like, where'd that come from? And so it's like being punched in the face while you're trying to surf. It's like, what? But so she came in with that. And here's my piece about that. If you are an immigrant from anywhere, I don't care where you're from, Jamaica, you can be from Africa, you can be from Croatia. It doesn't matter where you come from. You cannot insult Black people and tell us that we're ungrateful. Because if you say that, what I'm going to say to you is that our ancestors were hung, tarred, feathered, shall I keep going? Raped, kids sold apart right next to another plantation. Then you had the MF word. Remember where that came from? So you had to do all that. I mean, like there's like so many traumas. Then there was cotton picking, tobacco picking. All that stuff is what allowed you to come. Magic word, C-O-M-E. Come here. Remember, we were dragged here. There's a big difference between being kidnapped and coming here with 5 cents. You came with 5 cents. Wow, you were doing good. You came here with 5 cents. Even if you had one little shirt on your back, you did good. You came here. You chose, right? You chose to leave your worn, torn country, right? You chose that. That's what you chose. You chose to send your kids across the border. I chose to go whatever. It doesn't matter what means you come. It doesn't matter. You came. C-A-M-E is the magic word for any of my immigrant friends. I love you to death. And none of my friends would say this, but the ones at the meeting was like, ooh, they were somebody I ain't. I said, how long you been here? 2 years? And you talking smack about Black people, talking about we're ungrateful? That's not appropriate. And that's something you don't do because then you might really tick us off. I'm just saying. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No worries. Desi, so I was saying critical race theory is about righting a wrong. And like I said in the beginning, like, I think that the people who are against critical race theory, and it's not just critical race theory. I think anytime Black people want to elevate themselves or ask for equal footing, people get scared. Like they think we want to take over. All we are saying, like I said, throughout all the protests that Black people do, all we say the same message: be fair. That's it. We're not saying take what white people have and give it to us. We're not saying we want more than what they have. Just make it fair. You know what I mean? Just stop getting in our way and make it fair. Make everything fair. So this fear, like the white woman in the video, who you can clearly tell she was scared of her white kids being told the truth. Go ahead, Des.
Perfect leading, Carl, because you're on it 100%. Basically, what we need to do, we did a good job in the videos up front explaining critical race theory. Basically, the way we got here and the way I got to the panel and met all you wonderful comedians is that I started critically thinking about everything that's going on. Okay, so when I started dating someone that wasn't my race, I had to study their race so that I would know the different parts, the different customs and stuff, so that I could understand it and know what to relate to. This led me down a path to start thinking critically of everything. And when you start thinking about stuff, like when you think about religion and racism and everything that we do, it allows you the power to take on what you identify with, take on what is valuable today, and get rid of old traditions. So these people, specifically the critics of critical race theory, are afraid of a challenge to what they think of as the status quo. this fear is rightful only because what they have been taught, what we all have been taught, was not true. It was lies, it was exaggerations, or it was when they say, "Do you swear to tell the whole truth, the truth, and nothing but the truth?" When they say nothing, the whole truth is don't omit anything, don't leave anything out. So what we've seen is throughout history, they leave out anything that doesn't empower them, doesn't make them feel great. And so, what critical race theory is, and this is my own interpretation, is look at what we've been taught, why we've been taught it, and what we need to know going forward. Because our show, our energy of our show gets its power basically by explaining what we were taught and what the real truth is. When we look at Black history, when we look at how we interact with other groups in this country, it's all being critical of how things work. So we need that. Winston Churchill once said, "I know history will be kind because I intend to write it." And this is an important quote because what it's telling you is that Winston Churchill, who was the Prime Minister of Britain, knew that he was going to write the story and he was going to make himself the hero. We know through critical analysis that whenever someone tells a story, there's always your side, there's the opposition side, and then there's the real truth. This fear of critical race theory is their fear that we'll get to the real truth, because we on this panel and all the people that study history know that when you really look at the truth, you find out that the foundation that white supremacy is built on is bullshit. It's made of straw. It's not. It's nothing to it. So that's what we need to do. I know we're gonna get into it deeper, but my only fear with this is critical race theory is, like a lot of people have said, that it's gonna get Kaepernicked. And when I say Kaepernick, I fear that they're going to take a strategic analysis of history and throw in all this other stuff so that it gets diluted and then it gets thrown out because it's not relative.
Right.
That in if you're in literature, they call that the Faustinian bargain, which means like if you ever saw a movie with a genie and the genie gives you 3 wishes, but no matter what you wish, bad things end up happening because you wish for $100 and the genie gives you 100 deer in your yard. Like it's always not what you intend. I fear that critical race theory is going to be the Faustinian bargain in that I'm actively teaching my children history without a filter and not being diluted. I'm afraid that when they go to school and once this critical race theory curriculum gets fleshed out, it's going to be nothing like what it's intended to do because history has told us that that's what they do over and over again. So it started with just a little back history. It started with the 1619 Project. There was a writer named Nicole Hannah Jones, and she was talking about the consequences of slavery and how it permeates through our country. So the powers that be, I have a lot of friends. I grew up on Long Island, all white community. They are losing their mind that we would even think about doing an analysis of racism because in their minds, racism doesn't even exist. So once you prove that something exists, you got to prove how to solve it. They don't want it solved because they get an unfair advantage.
Right.
That's what we're doing.
That's it.
All right, Kevin, I'm gonna come to you next. But I think the people who don't want critical race theory are this. What, preach?
Huh?
You said something?
Oh, I was talking about Des using such technical words like BS. That's the technical jargon. That's the technical jargon. It was bullshit. Yes, that was.
All right. Yeah, it seems. I mean, they might as well, in my opinion, the people who don't want critical race theory or who don't want to talk about race or who never want to hear Black people out is like they should just say, "Listen, we know as America's a racist system, but we like it because it's working for us." Basically, that's what they're saying. It's working for us. You know, we like it this way. We don't want it to change.
Yep. And that's why they love the police, because they keep the narrative going to lock the black people up and make sure that they are always seen as the criminal. That's why they love that.
Right.
So they try to divert, like that lady again that was crying. Just because I don't want critical race theory doesn't mean I'm racist, goddamn it. And the fake tears, when white women cry, the world buckles.
Oh, was them tears?
Yeah. White woman tears are bringing the world to its knees. Yeah, Kev, but I mean, I didn't research this, but I am curious to what the curriculum is going to look like for critical race theory. I don't know if anybody researched that, but as the show goes on, if anybody can, give me some, what will be taught exactly? What are these people so fearful of?
Right.
I know. I saw that they'll be explaining how racism affects people's economical background and stuff, and the kids will learn. This is why,
Yeah.
Go ahead, before I go to Kevin, go ahead.
Sorry, Kev. I have one theory, and I didn't write the name down to give my proper credit. But they were saying it is an academic discipline composed of civil rights scholars in the United States who seek to critically examine the law to show first that it maintains white supremacy, white power, and enforces societal and structural racism. And second, that transforming the relationship between law and racial power. In truth, whatever they said, the divides are not nearly as neat as they seem. So that's their general consensus of it. That's what it's supposed to deal with, but I'm not sure if that's what's going to happen.
And the ghetto translation of that is they think the world is flat and they don't want us getting on boats and sailing because we discovered that they're lying.
Because
thank you.
Because I don't think a lot of white kids understand that you can go in for a loan and you can get a loan at 2% because you're white. My loan interest rate will be 15% just because I'm black.
If you're lucky.
You know what I mean? I don't think they understand that. So I think critical race theory will help them understand. And when it help them understand when they see protests and stuff, they can go, oh, that's why these people are upset, because all the systematic stuff that's going on, Go ahead, Kevin. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Kevin.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Hey, the angry one on the panel. Hey, first of all, white people should thank us. They now have 2 days off from work. Dr. King holiday, and now Juneteenth. There's 2 days off from work, white people.
2 days.
You know how racist you gotta be not to want a day off from work?
Yeah, most people.
They're called us lazy, Kevin. Come on.
Really rich. But that's what I was gonna say though. They kept black people enslaved for 2 years. Now we've been told for decades that we're lazy and we don't like to work. But didn't white people keep black people enslaved for 2 years after slavery because they didn't want to work? Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Man, I'm just angry. I don't know what to say, man. I'm pissed. Just listening to y'all make me angry. What you want to know, Carl? What you want to know, Carl? Ask me a question. I lost my train of thought because I'm just angry.
Right.
I'm just angry, man.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are.
Because I've been. You know why I'm angry? Because I've been on Facebook. I get on Facebook every morning, browse like everybody else do, man. I see all these white people making fun of the holiday, Juneteenth jokes and all this sort of stuff, man. I'm going, why are you focusing that energy on making fun of this holiday? Like, why? The thing that pissed me off is St. Patrick's Day comes around and you can't find one page that don't have Happy St. Patrick's Day on it,
Yep.
From both black and white people,
Yes, absolutely.
But you don't see that same love throughout Black History Month, You don't see white people saying Happy Black History Month to black people on their page.
I have a few, but yes.
A few, yeah. Well, I have none. And out of my 5,000 Facebook followers, I have none that come on my page. Hey, Kevin, happy Black History Month. No, you don't get any of that. I don't, you know. So, but you don't. And now all I see is jokes about Juneteenth holiday and all that sort of stuff. So, it's just frustrating, man. That people, we can't have shit. I mean, and it's up to us to make sure this how our holidays, you know, are relevant. We can't let them hijack it. You know,
Right.
We can't let them do what they did to Black Lives Matter. You know, because they hijacked Black Lives Matter. They hijacked Kaepernick's protest. We cannot. African Americans cannot allow this holiday to be hijacked by racism, by Republicans. I mean, everybody should be celebrating this, like
July 4th.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the argument, though, Tanya, is that we're trying to steal July 4th. You know, like we have.
Well, for me, but that's another story.
Our holidays and our heroes are all people. You know, you go through. I'm from Washington D.C. On the National Mall. There's all sorts of monuments and statues and things like that. A lot of Confederate soldiers had their statues there. I don't know if they're still there. They may have been brought down, but they were there for years. You know, I mean, the most peaceful guy on the National Mall was, you know, statue is an African American man. You know, Martin Luther King Jr. Right. Everybody else's statue up there was involved in some sort of war. Everybody else's statue on that mall was involved in some sort of slavery. You know, the only person who stands on that National Mall that don't have any blood on his hands is Dr. King, a black man. That's why they don't like us. You know what I'm saying? That's why, because they can't compete. They can't look at their statues of their heroes from Washington to Jefferson to, you know, the other presidents that have the statues and monuments on that National Mall. They all got blood on their hands. And the one guy that stands alone with no blood on his hands is a black man who stood for peace and was assassinated because he stood for peace. And so, I mean, the hatred, man, for our holidays, for what we try to celebrate, our freedom, you know, we try to celebrate, you know, our heritage. You know, I saw one guy on Facebook today said, you know, black people bitch so much, you know. Like, wow, you know, wow, we bitch.
Everybody thinks that.
We're crybabies. He was a Jewish guy who compared that Jewish people don't complain about the Holocaust, you know. But black people
they don't talk about that.
That's surprising.
Yeah. Well, it should be surprising, but it's not, because most Jewish men consider themselves white people, right?
But they've been through the Holocaust. You would think like you would identify with us and be our allies.
Well, they don't identify with us because what happened to them didn't happen on American soil, and the Jewish people that live on this land, you know, this particular person, he's not an Orthodox Jew, so he's just a regular white man. I mean, driving down the street in a car, he's a white guy, you know.
Right.
He passed a cop, he's a white guy. Cop ain't gonna go, look at that Jew, let me go pull him over. No, he's a white guy, because he's just a regular looking, you know, Caucasian man, you know. But you know, so he has that luxury or privilege, I should say, that he feels he has that privilege that a regular white person has. So you know, but they're never going to recognize our holidays, and they're always going to try to jeopardize it. They're always going to try to hijack it, and it's our job to make sure that it doesn't happen, you know. And that's what they're out to do. I see that on social media, you know, today as African Americans are celebrating this with beautiful posts and pictures and flyers and stuff on their Instagram and Facebook wall, and then you just stroll and you see some asshole making jokes, you know, negative comments and jokes and stuff. You know, why the energy into that? You know, like, don't you have anything better to do than just try to knock us down, continuously knock us down? Carl, we can't have a day to celebrate enslaved people, you know, being freed. Which, by the way, which I mentioned in our pre-show, there were black soldiers who rode in with the general into Galveston, Texas, to help free former slaves that were now soldiers, came in on those horses with guns to help free those slaves. That had to be those enslaved people. That had to be an amazing turn of events. You know what I mean? And I think my brother-in-law's from Galveston. I gotta call my sister after the show, man. Because this went down in mainly Galveston, Texas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's not forget. I'm sure nobody on this panel forgets that we're dealing with people who left their house in the 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever. I don't remember. You guys might remember, to go to a school and spit on black kids because they didn't want them to go to school. These are the same people we're dealing with today.
50.
You know what I mean? These are the same people who put hoses, sick dogs on. You know what I mean?
It wasn't that long ago either.
No,
not long enough. When I was.
You know what I mean? You leave your house. Hey, today we're gonna go down to such and such a school because there's some black people trying to go to school. We're gonna spit on them.
Yes, especially some areas. Ooh, they were notorious.
Right?
I saw.
So what year did Harriet Tubman die? Anybody know?
Harriet Tubman.
Yeah, what year she died?
Harriet.
It wasn't like super long ago. You know what I'm saying?
You know. So
1913.
She died when? No, that's when she was born. I don't think she died.
Date of death, it says March 10th. You said Harriet Tubman?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1913.
Yeah, because she was a slave.
Yes. So you mean
she was a slave, and she helped slaves escape.
Right.
Yeah.
Slavery.
She died of pneumonia in March.
Okay. I'm just curious. Okay.
93 years old.
Wow.
Wow. How amazing is that?
Yeah.
I mean,
That just shows if you know, when they talk about exercise, if you do some walking, that really benefits you and it helps to longevity, because she did a lot of walking from the south back up north over and over again.
That's just
imagine her pedometer. It's got like 20 million steps.
That's just amazing. I mean, she was. You remember when she was beaten in the head, allegedly by slave master as a punishment or something? So I'm surprised. Like 93 years, she still made it. Like that's amazing.
Because what happened to her being on the money? Wasn't she supposed to be on the
$20 bill? I think.
You know what happened?
$20 bill.
Like your magic disappeared.
That's what I was getting at. Like we can't have every time somebody tries to uplift black people in this country, it is somehow knocked down, you know. And that's what I was getting at. What she was, there was big talk about her being on the $20 bill.
Remember?
Just 2 years ago,
Yep.
and now it's just.
That's why I got knocked down.
And now it disappeared. You know, yeah, it's just gone. Like what happened to that? Like we had to stick to stuff, man. Black people don't stick to shit, man. We march for about 2 or 3 weeks and bitch and complain about some cop beating the hell out of somebody. Then we just go back to our regular lives.
Well, that's why
then it happens again, you know. Like we have to have some sort of longevity when it comes to our protests, because you know, like why is she not on the $20 bill? And I don't mean to get off subject. I'm just saying. I'm just adding. I'm making the point. You know that.
But Kevin, part of that is because we don't have our own media. And if we had our own media like we're doing here, they would remind us, hey, you know, we were supposed to be on a $20 bill. And hey, you know, this person signed the Juneteenth, but it's the same person who signed the anti-voter.
You saying Joanne Reed and Don Lemon can't ask these questions?
Let me go to Preach. Preach hasn't had an opportunity yet. Let's go to Preach. Go ahead, Preach.
Yeah, this is you know, the critical race theory, you know, and you see the letters CRT, and there's post up saying creating racial tension. But isn't that what we've been dealing with for the last 500 years? Racial tension, because we were told we were nothing but 3/5 of a human being. That even President Lincoln, the great emancipator, decided or had a feeling that there's a superior race and there's a lesser race, and the white race is the superior race. And that the people always go to Lincoln saying, well, he freed the slaves, and that's why he's a great emancipator. And the Republicans say oh, we're the the party of Lincoln. But freeing the slaves was not because he didn't like slavery. It was because the North was getting their ass kicked by the South in the Civil War. And he knew if he freed slaves, a lot of them would join the Union Army, and he could use them to fight against the South. One of the greatest ones, the 54th Regiment from Massachusetts, yay, Massachusetts, where I'm from, was one of the most famous ones they made the movie Glory about. So the racist thing, or or critical race theory, telling the truth about what really happened, I don't know why they're afraid of this. Oh, because now you can't have Columbus as a hero. He's got to be a war criminal now because he committed, genocide against the Arawak Indian tribe, because the Spaniard troops that this Italian was in charge of didn't want to listen to this damn Spaniard, Italian. They're like, what? He's not one of us. Okay. So it started then, or even before then, or the fact that there's a documentary out by Loki Mulholland, okay? And he's a grandson of a slave owner. This is a white man, a Caucasian man, who is the great-great-grandson of former slave owners. And he traces it back to where his family owns slaves. And his documentary is called The Uncomfortable Truth. And he goes through history in his family from when they owned slaves to where his mother was like an anti-slave, like a civil rights activist. And now he's become an activist as well when he made this documentary showing people that there is systemic racism in this country, that there is benefits to people, a certain class or color of people that the other ones don't get. He said that there's the Caucasians or the white people and the black people are on divergent paths. They're both traveling on a different path that intersect once in a while, and they intersect in a violent way because we're not getting what we deserve. Or when white people see us getting what they think we shouldn't have, they become angry, create a mob, and then destroy, burn, bomb, steal everything that we had. We talked about this in previous weeks about the massacres in black towns that we were successful in. But it goes deeper than that because, when you talk about the Southern Bible Belt, when it comes to voting, Episcopalians were one of the largest slave owners. That's a religion. The church was great slaveholders. Why? Because the reason they justified it is like, well, those are heathens. They don't believe in our God, so that means they're not human. And that's how they justify it. Because in the Constitution it says we're 3/5 human. They're like, well, see, they're not even fully human. And they went on to live in such a way as eradicating the Native Americans. They killed them first. That was their philosophy. We'll just kill as many people as necessary so we can make it convenient for ourselves. And that's what they continue to do with blacks or people of color. We'll just keep killing them to make our way a little easier. So we don't have to talk about the systemic racism. So we don't have to deal with the things that have been going on for the last 400 years. So it doesn't change. It hasn't changed. And the funniest thing is when they talked about the ratification of the 13th Amendment, which freed slaves. Did you know Mississippi didn't ratify the 13th Amendment until 2013? Think about that. Wow. 8 years ago, Mississippi ratified it and said, okay, we shouldn't have slaves. 8 years ago.
Let me read a couple of comments. I hope I'm doing this person's name justice. Kanoshi Bellard. Anybody know who that is? Kanoshi Bellard. She, him or her? I don't know. I read an article a while back, and there are a few excerpts from. Here are a few excerpts from it. Critical race theory is a way of understanding how American racism has shaped public policy. The events of the last decade have increased public awareness about things like housing, segregation, the impacts of criminal justice policy of the 1990s, and the legacy of enslavement on Black Americans. The core idea is that racism is a social construct and that it's not merely the product of individual bias or prejudice, but something. Is there more? No. But okay, that's the end. Which is true. I mean, people can't believe that racism is baked into America's systemic. You know what I mean? They can't believe that it's baked into society.
How can
I don't know why.
know this? How can they not know that?
That's what I don't know.
It's baked in like apple pie.
Exactly.
I don't know. Pamela Jones said, people who are against teaching critical race theory are not interested in unraveling institutional racism, which is true. It's working for them. So why would you want to unravel? You know what I mean? Because it's working for them. Donna Haygood said, they know we excel at what we do. Look at all the contributions we have made. They fear we will take over, which is the thing which is true, Donna, because what do they mean they fear? We cannot take over what white people have. We can't, even if we can't, even if we tried, even if all 40 million black people in America decided to bum rush all of white society. We can't. We're outnumbered. I mean, all we're saying is be fair. That's all we're saying. Be fair, and they're saying no. Right? All we're saying, hey, make it fair so the playing field is level and we can advance the way you guys are advancing. We're not saying push us ahead of you. We're not saying give us more than you. We're saying just make it even and let's see who, you know what I mean, who flourishes.
But Carl, like with a lot of politicians like Ted Cruz and some of the other guys in Texas and a lot of Republican politicians that are bluntly saying no to this, bluntly on national television saying this. And the reason they're doing this is because the people that vote for them feel the same way they do, or they wouldn't be saying it. You know, and they got millions of voters. These Republicans have millions of voters. So there's millions of people who are against, you know,
teaching the truth.
Teaching the truth. There you go. They're just teaching the truth.
That's what it boils down to.
They want to continue to, because unfortunately, their history is not good. And I'm not saying all white people aren't good. I know plenty of good white people.
Right.
I'm just saying the history is not good. And they don't want to face their history.
Yes.
And that's kind of sucks. If your history is that bad where you got to hide it, you know. That's like you date a girl for the first time, you know, you go on a date. You don't sit there on the first date and go, you know, you know, back in the day, you know, you don't tell everything on the first date, right?
Yeah.
You've been at this date for 400 years now.
Yeah, but if you tell it, eventually, they respect you more than them finding out from everybody else, and then they'd be like, "Oh, so you never mentioned that, huh?"
Right.
But if you said, "Listen, in 1922, I did X, Y, and Z, and I got in trouble for it. I went to jail. I mean, whatever it is, that first you might be like, "Oh, okay, awkward," but eventually you have respect for that person because they kept it real with you.
But they haven't. The United States haven't kept it real for centuries, and you know what? The thing now is they're talking about they're admitting that, okay, we have had alien sightings, UFO sightings. They're ready to admit that easier than the fact that there's systemic racism against blacks. Yeah, there's aliens, but blacks, we ain't never did nothing to them. It was the aliens doing it. It was the aliens that did it.
Did they make those aliens?
The thing is too is if you compare and contrast what happened in South Africa compared to what happened in the United States, we're all aware of what happened in South Africa. And the South African line is if you tell anyone, white, black, or anything, hey, you guys were racist, they'll say, yes, that was in our past, and thank God that we're able to move on and be powerful. That takes away your energy. If the United States would have said, hey, this country was formed a certain way,
yes,
we didn't know better, and now we know better, and we want to do better. That's almost a lot of people. That's all you would want to hear.
Yeah.
And so the more that they fight and kvetch and fight, the more we know that there is some truth and power behind what's really happening, and it's up to us to get it out so that we can.
Which is exactly what we've been saying. Like they think that it's some secret that we don't know.
Right.
You know, they don't know yet about systemic racism. Just so let's not say we know. It's not like we can get any more angry or any more frustrated or any more upset than we already are. We already know. We know already. So if by them coming out and admitting that this is the way it is, we're not going to be, oh my God, can you believe that black people's interest rate is set higher? Can you believe that?
Right.
Police.
We know.
We already know everything.
But do their children know? Do their children know that they're maintaining this lie so that they can stay in power?
They know. At some point, you got to be able to look around and be like, dang, how come we living in this $2 million house and my mama got a $90,000 a year job? Something's wrong with this picture. Maybe she got it for less. I mean, you start connecting the dots, at least by college. Come on. I mean, if you're really smart, my kids connect in middle school, but you should be able to connect the dots even as a child. At some point by high school, let's give them high school or college. Like if you think that all that came to you just because your parents are so fab and so smart, like even put it this way, even with Felicity, what's that lady's name who cheated on the exams and had her daughter get into the top colleges because right. So she ain't the only one. This is another idea of disadvantage. You know what I'm saying? Like so all the time, because somebody like me, when I was at NYU, I would have conversations with kids, and I know you guys know I'm a little bit over the place. Okay, but there's I know my facts when they're facts, and I know I try my best. But this girl, she would get all A's, and I said, "What? How did she get in here?" Because she wasn't, in my opinion, my opinion, she was not very bright. But I found out her father was the top corporate 500 guy or whatever, and so she got in some other ways, and then the Adderall helped her a lot. So I was like, all this time I'm sitting there like, now I put the 2 and 2 together, and I was like, nah, something ain't right. I'm getting A's because I'm studying every night and I'm busting it out. She's getting A's because she's paying $150 for her paper, and she got Adderall. Like I can't lose. I mean, I can't win, right? So just I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Gina Fiore says everyone knows, white people know, they don't want to talk about it, which we all know. You know what I mean, it's so obvious, but it's just frustrating to see how they deny. Right. You know what I mean? And we know that they know.
Des said it best. If anyone, especially to me, you got to go from the top up. If I was the president of the United States, the first thing I would have did was said, listen, I'd like to make a public apology to African Americans for slavery that happened on our watch. That's what I would have done, because now I'm setting the tone for everybody else. But if the president and the higher up people are not even mentioning it, then the little people are going to be like, well, then sure, as long as he covers that lie, we're going to keep this going. They're not going to come up with it.
Yes.
They won't mention that. The president can't mention that because then they got to give up the reparations,
Well, they need to give those up too. We're not.
Well, I know that. I'm just
if
saying,
it's a form of education, they need to get up off that.
Well, if the president comes out and say that, then it's a wrap, is what I'm saying.
But California's going to give reparations, and there's another place that's going to give reparations. I think it's something that if you really want to have real dialogue with me and show me that you're sincere about this apology, blah, 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 and whatever, you know what I'm saying? You're going to actually reteach the real stuff, in my opinion, and not saying you're going to throw away everything if you don't want to, whatever works for you. But you got to at least come with the real. If you're not real, then it's like, I can't see you. I don't know what's going on with you. I don't believe you.
It just came out last week that ex-President Trump, he watched the George Floyd strangulation, execution,
murder
on TV. And he was deeply disturbed. This is what they said in the report. But he knew that he could not express his disgust in the actual murder because his base would see him as weak. So that's a microcosm on how they treat the disrespect that we are given. And so we have to know that they're going to deny because they had the power in the past. They had the military and they had control of the textbooks. Now that we have the internet, we can look it up. So when they tell you Columbus discovered America and they show him waving to other people that are already there, any dummy will go, wait a minute, how could he discover America when there's people already
exactly there? I have a whole thing on that. The girls are so beautiful. Look at the girls. We're going to go there.
I learned something today. Trump has a heart.
No.
How that happened?
What are these?
Trump, ex-president Donald Trump has a country.
Well, see, they said he was disturbed by watching the murder of George Floyd, but they never said why he was disturbed. He might have been disturbed talking about, oh my God, I can't believe that police officer has to kneel there for 9 minutes.
Right. What did he do?
Is his knee okay?
Let me throw something out to the panel. This is a question that I came up with. Are you pro-black or are you pro-American? By that I means, let's get a scenario like, say the Summer Olympics is coming up. Let's say there's a white American running against a black person from another country. Who you root for?
Well, that's not fair technically. Okay. Right. But I'm going to answer it because it's not fair. You can't
say running because you know we're going to win anyway.
Yeah.
There's a white American running against a black person from any other country. Who do you?
I'll tell you right now, and I'll tell you how you're going to know that most.
I'll tell you why.
American first. Let me tell you why. Even though we want, in our head we want to say black, but because I mean, I'm not. This is a general statement. Okay, fine. But black people, as much as we want to be like and hold grudges, we can't. So when it comes down to, and September 11th is proof of this.
Yes.
What was everybody? American.
Yes.
First, before anything else, you were American. Even the racist people were like, okay, we'll give them 2 minutes of a break, like, right? Because everybody's American. Like, for whatever reason that was, whether it was right or wrong is another story, but everybody was American. So by default, if it came down to something right now, you're highly probable that you're going to be American first, and then the other things. It depends on the situation, though. I got to say that. It really depends.
Was it like a yes or no question?
No, it's not.
Number one,
if you're watching the Olympics, there's a white American running in the same race with other blacks. Are you rooting for the white American, or are you rooting for somebody black to win?
I can't wait till my turn.
Oh, so wait. So I got confused.
That's all I'm asking.
Oh,
Hey,
so
let's go back to your original.
I'm rooting for America because most of the times, that poor white guy's gonna lose anyway. But I'm still rooting for my country. That's what you need to take ownership. People need to take ownership, and that's what a lot of blacks don't do. They're like, well, they ain't treated us right. They ain't done. But we've contributed more to this country than we've been given credit for. We've worked harder in this country than we've been given credit for. This is my country. You can't tell me it's not, because my ancestors have spilled their blood, have sweat and tears, as they say, to build this country.
Okay, Gerald, you're rooting for the white American to win. If he's running,
I'm rooting for America to win, not the white American. I'm rooting for America.
No. You can't tell me my scenario. I'm saying it's a white American.
Right. And I'm telling you, I am rooting for America.
Okay, so
regardless of whether he's white, purple, green, orange,
I'm gonna keep it real.
Kev, be honest, but you're the one that I think is gonna be.
I'm gonna keep it real. If Michael Phelps was about to dive in the water and race, and I saw a brown person competing against him, I'm going to root for the brown person. That's just who I am.
Yes. Okay.
That's just me. And I love America. I love being an American. But I'm going to root for the brown brother because I already know that the brown brother probably had to go through more.
Thank you, Kevin. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Than probably Michael Phelps.
That's exactly what I was
Michael Phelps don't have to work hard at his craft to become a great swimmer that he is. I'm just saying, I know that the brother next to him is probably from a third world country. And
so
what that gold medal is going to do for him and his family from that third world country, So I'm probably going to root for the sister or the brother, the sister that's running the race, and the white girls from America. But you got a sister coming from a African country that's running up behind her. I'm pushing for that sister to win. Now, if it's a sister running from America, I'm gonna go with the sister.
Right, that's right.
Right. Well, I would personally go by. I'm going by a couple things, but I wouldn't go if it had to be American or color. I'm probably gonna go with American And unless there was some outstanding circumstances, like it's a player, if it was a white player that I don't like or I don't have respect for, then I might use extra factors. But I don't want it being done against me. So and I've been in a predicament too, where I had to make it.
All right, Desi, let me get your answer, Desi.
Thank you. It depends on the sport.
No, okay, all right. You're gonna give the political answer.
Well, number one, to get back to your first thing, you cannot be pro-American without being pro-black, because the black people are the ones who built America. So
but you're not answering my question.
You should be pro-black if you're pro-American. Now, when it comes to sports, it's always fun because we had Conor McGregor, who was from Ireland, fighting African American. I think it was even Mayweather, and you had people who are Americans with an Irish flag, and so it was really interesting to make them realize that they are rooting against America,
right?
So they were choosing race over country, and we all know from January 6th, we always knew about the hypocrisy that.
Do you guys remember? Did you guys see the video when Serena and the Williams sisters were playing against? And the white people were backing the white girls and
the Russian girls. Yeah,
that was in California.
Well, because they never really.
Right. That was in America. Why do you think
that was in California?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, white Americans.
I get what you're saying, Carl. I get what you're saying, Carl and Kevin, and that does happen a lot. But I try not to be like those people when I can help it. I mean, there's times where you're like, all right, if it's a toss up, then of course I'm going to go with this girl because whatever. But I don't do it all as an automatic thing because it's, for me, I don't know. I can't explain. It depends. It depends on the person. If I didn't do it,
so here's my reasoning. If I'm watching the Olympics and the Summer and there's a black person running in a race, I want that black person to win. Because I know no matter where that black person is in the world, I know they're dealing with some shit. I know that. I know I know the life is harder.
And let me say this: white America. How many white people you think rooted for Jack Johnson? How many white people you think rooted for Joe Louis? When I mean, seriously. I mean,
I was just about to say
how about the black Rocky? Oh, in World War II.
Rocky, you're still rooting for the black guy, even though the movie's named after Rocky.
But how about the black Americans who fought in World War II and came back to America and were treated like shit?
Well, hung and killed.
Yeah, exactly. Some of them were lynched.
Yeah,
lynched for wearing.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna shut up.
So I'm saying, even in sports today, even in today's society, white America still roots against, black athletes on a regular basis. I mean, LeBron James, because he's political, is one of the most hated athletes toward. But white people can't stand LeBron. I mean, on the right anyway, because he speaks out for Black Lives Matter, because he speaks out on social issues, because he talked about Trump. So he's considered a bad guy. We already know. Can you imagine if we had social media when Muhammad Ali was around?
I mean, for me, it doesn't mean that I dislike the white person in the race or I don't like white people. It just, okay, when I need stuff done, I research, I try to find a black person. If I needed the grass cut at my house, I was looking for a black person. If I need a plumber, I go black first. If I can't get a black person, then I try to find a female. You know what I mean? Because I know these are the people that have it harder in life. Doesn't mean I hate the other person, but I want to give them, you know what I mean? I want to give them some business. Doesn't mean I don't like them or I hate them or have any animosity towards them. But there's a certain group of people in this country that are doing very well and don't need much help. Then there's another group that needs a lot of help.
I'm glad you explained that, because white people listening will say that's racist, because we had that thing. Race people, why you guys got to have Howard University, or why you guys got to have, that's because we weren't allowed to go to your schools at one point,
Yeah, that's the same,
you know what I'm saying?
Negro League baseball.
Why you guys, the Negro League, we weren't allowed to play with you guys at one point. So we have a lot of these things. Black radio, BT at one point was black owned because, we needed to see black programming. We got TV One now that, it's black owned and shows a lot of black. We have those stations because you guys had ABC and NBC and CBS for decades, you know, and movies. So, you know,
But
and
Kevin, they know that. Look at Tulsa. They know that. They know why. So I don't even have to dialogue with anybody, black or
Right.
white. Don't ask me why. You know why. Go look it up. That's what I tell people. Look it up.
But they keep us out of their, you know, they keep us out of their industries without saying they're keeping us out of their industry.
Yeah, especially the film industry. Yep.
Right.
Fashion.
They don't verbalize it, but you know what I mean? Like in corporate America, they don't promote black people. Black people are not many are CEOs, and you know what I mean. Or
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, there's plenty of us in, but we're the janitors,
right,
receptionists. Yeah,
but they don't say they're not promoting you. They just do it, you know, and they do it with a smile, you know. So this is why when anytime I can root for a black person, I root for a black person. I don't care where they're from, because I know wherever they are from in the world, they dealt with some shit, or their ancestors dealt with some shit. So I'm always black first, because the other groups of people in the world are doing very well. They don't need my help. You know what I mean? And that's just the way I feel about it. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you a question, guys, the panel.
Yeah.
So we got this holiday, Juneteenth, right? Juneteenth, which it's an important holiday, but obviously Congress came together and you know, made this happen. You know, everybody voted in on that, I guess. But let me ask you a question. They still haven't passed a lot of other things, you know, George Floyd Policing Act, and all the other stuff that's on the table, you know, that haven't been passed. So we being just, you know, played right now with this holiday in a sense, like let's give them this, and then, you know, we can forget about the other important things, you know, like police reform, you know, all the things that really matter.
They're stalling.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm thankful for the
Yeah,
holiday.
it seems like that. I think we'll know.
Yeah, I just feel like it's more important things that aren't being passed by the Biden administration right now. That's, you know, that's more important in this holiday to me.
I went home.
Well, nobody's holding him accountable, Kevin.
He's a lifelong Democrat, and I went home to visit my dad, lifelong Democrat. He's a big time supporter. Anything he said to me, Des, he's from Trinidad. Desi, how do you feel about Biden so far? And he was talking about Juneteenth, and I said I'm immensely disappointed, because he's been in there all this time. He's managed to do bills for Asian and Pacific. Yep. He's done LGBT, and black people are his base. He was way down in the primaries. He was losing, and black people saved him in South Carolina. And we've learned from Trump, good or bad, that you should support your base, because those are the people that are going to keep you in. And my father was shocked. And then he tried to throw, well, at least he did Juneteenth. Yeah, it's good. And I agree with you guys. But we're looking for real change. What happened to police reform? What happened to sitting down with Ice Cube?
He melted.
Because when Ice Cube was sitting down with Trump, people lost their minds. How could you sit down with Trump? He's so hateful. We'll sit down with you. So people calm down. We chilled out, and then next thing you know, it's not even a consideration.
That's because we do not follow. We talk all this good game. We do all these little protests. They're cute. But you need to be writing letters, you need to be voting, and you need to be going up to the White House and holding people accountable, because that's what all the Karens do. They say, I'm going to write a letter to that senator and let them know what I think, me and my 50 friends. That's what you got to be doing. You got to be actually voting and making change, not talking about it, I don't even care about the protesting at this point. I need to see results. And you can't get results if you're not voting. Small time elections and the big ones.
Yeah, because we're not.
And Juneteenth, it might be just a little thing that they threw out there. We'll see how they really feel about it next year when they have a white sale on Juneteenth.
You know what? That's funny, but it's also that's funny. That's what I don't want to see, though, is Juneteenth sales. You know,
yeah.
Then the holiday is being commercialized, and you know, stuff is on sale. Juneteenth go to Macy's and 15% off, all that crap, because then it becomes commercialized like every other holiday in this country.
Well, if blacks get an extra 5% off, no.
That's funny.
Well, one person said it right. He said, with Juneteenth, don't just be like all the holidays. We were like, oh, it's such and such holiday, and then you're not teaching your kids the truth, and you're not learning something about this holiday. Most people say, okay, we have it off. Okay, you're like, what is it? They're like, well, the white people did something. I don't know.
Hey,
Des,
find
out what it is.
I'm sorry, Tanya. Let me cut you off, sister. Hey, Des.
Yes.
We have the lesser of two evils. We had to take Biden,
right,
or we would still have Trump,
right. And here's the thing.
with Trump, we get no Juneteenth, even though I'm bitching about it. We get no.
Got a lot of hate.
We get no woman of color as vice president. We get no. I mean, we get nothing.
More shootings.
Yeah,
More
we get something with Biden. We got to hold him accountable. And I think maybe I'm being too hard on the guy because he's only been in office for 6 months. It's
you're not.
Term.
You're not.
It's a 4-year term, though, is what I'm saying. So he has 6 months, and he's the president of the United States. He has the whole world that he has to deal with. Right. He has to deal with Russia and North Korea and other shit that we don't even know about because we're not in that world. So it's not just I got to deal with black people right now too. He got to deal with a lot of stuff. He had a lot of stuff on his table. So
he can delegate.
And he's been in office for 6 months,
including aliens.
Yeah, you got to deal with aliens.
In the zombie apocalypse.
So I don't know. He's been in for 6 months. He's done some decent stuff in 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months. Yeah.
But it's a 4-year job, So I mean, we'll have this conversation again in a year, and if we're still in the same boat, then something needs to be done. As far as he needs to be,
Well, we got to make sure he don't backpedal on that student loan stuff because now they talking about $10,000. I was like, for who?
My point is, we're in the worst shape. We're getting pulled out of our cars and killed without a trial. That's a constitutional violation. We are the least healthy. We are suffering because of COVID. Financially, we worked all those industry those jobs that are in the public. We should have been, and we still should be, the first priority. He should be able to say to the world, not only because we're the ones who put him in power, but and gave him the majority in Congress. He should be able to say to the world, I know I got a lot going on, but these people are suffering. It's getting worse, and they're the ones who supported me. I'm putting them in the front like they should have been for the last 400 years. If he would have said that and followed up with action, he would get my vote.
Yep, exactly.
But we know that we're in bad shape, and we know that we keep getting the can kicked down the road for us, and we keep getting put on the back burner because this emergency, Russia and Putin,
diversions,
and the Asian attacks and stuff. Asian people get yelled at, and there's an undercover cop arrests you if you argue with an Asian person. Black people are getting killed, getting pulled out of their cars, getting beat up, and there's nothing. There should have been a task force for us, just like there was one for Pacific. And I want everyone protected. I want everyone safe. But who's getting it? Who's getting the worst? Who's getting the worst effect? It's us. But we keep getting forced to wait.
My sister sent me this text, Malcolm X quote. Malcolm X said, the white man will try to satisfy us with symbolic victories rather than economic equity and real justice.
There you go.
Absolutely.
There you go.
We've seen it in full bloom. We're seeing it right now in full bloom.
Yes, and a professor at Harvard teaches African studies said that even with the critical race theory, that the people that are opposing, it's all a diversion to keep you from getting the other stuff, the economical part, all that stuff, all a diversion, all of it.
Malcolm X was so dope. Just want to put that out there. Right. Malcolm X was a bomb.
And my point is being like, I'm not a Biden hater. My thing is, we knew that we had to get out Trump. So at all costs, we don't have any expectations from Trump or the Republicans because historically, since the 60s or whatever, they tell us through their actions and explicitly they are not there to serve us. But we have a Democratic Party who says we are for the people, we support African Americans, but it seems like if you look at the WikiLeaks that came out when Hillary Clinton was running, the Democratic line was listen to black people, be empathetic, but don't promise them anything and don't do anything. So I mean that tells you right there.
But to be fair to Biden, also we also have Dixiecrat Joe Manchin, who's an undercover Republican. Dixiecrat ass Joe Manchin is a Democrat. Him and I forgot the other lady's name, and they're continuously siding, with the Republicans and going against Biden. So we should have the House vote to get things through, but because Manchin is an undercover racist, and this other lady, I forgot her name, they keep voting every time Biden puts something forth. Joe Manchin goes against it. Have y'all noticed that?
Yes. Well,
but if we're really gonna get down to it, and this the quote from Dr. Umar, not a quote, but something along, he said, we really have no power. If you look at Black society, we really don't have any power.
That's why they don't care about us.
Yeah, that's why they don't care, because we still have to go to them for jobs.
Yeah.
Right?
But we actually do, but the problem is we don't exercise our power. That's what I would change that to.
Yeah.
We actually do, which is why Tulsa got burned down, right? But we don't exercise it and we don't follow through with it. That's why we always end up like, wah, 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 wah.
But economically, I mean, we have to go to them for jobs. Like he said, if your Black son or your Black daughter needs a job, they can't come to you or your friend or your uncle. They have to go out into white society for jobs. Yeah, I mean,
that's why we want reparations. We want to be restored to what we did. We want to get paid for what we worked.
Is that realistic though?
Yes, it is. And if we don't say it is, it won't be.
It definitely is. If you look at all of the things that we're doing for people who are not even Americans.
Yes, they gave.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's think about it. Do you think it'll ever happen?
Yes, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Like it's that series where we're going to hold people accountable with action, through voting. We're doing it. It's happening.
You mean like at some point we're going to get, well, not me, but Black people will get reparations?
Oh yeah. And it actually should happen all over the world. It's just that each person has to do their own thing.
I don't want us to be chasing the pipe dream. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
it's not chasing
another thing we're dangling in front of our face.
Nope. Everybody else got it. We can get it.
Pipe dream if you don't enforce it, if you don't make them do it.
Exactly.
But
and if we hold them accountable,
and just because it's not in our vision right now doesn't mean it won't happen. Look at when Tupac sang about, seeing a Black president. He didn't get to see it, but we did.
Yep, sure, exactly, and that's a good point. Is we never ever, even I was like years ago, oh, there'll never be a Black president. But then I started saying, wait a minute, don't stop saying that, because we keep saying it. It's going to be put out in the universe, and then that's how it's been so long. But if we put it out there, yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Something will happen where it's going to happen, and I believe we will get reparations in America. I believe we will get it. I just hope they don't again side change us. Be like, here you go, you can have it, an educational voucher.
Not justice denied.
Yes.
Tupac just would have turned 50 years old 3 days ago. By the way.
Wow.
He should be here to see it. He's younger than everybody on this panel.
Yeah.
So, I think.
Speak for yourself. I don't know about you. I'm 35.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Pamela Jones said, there's gonna be June 19th sales. Look at MLK sales. Do we have MLK sales?
Not really. They're not.
Yes.
Really
Yes, they do.
They do, but they're not.
Well, actually, car dealers get anything to have a sale for. There's a sale every month for cars. The Washington's Day sale, the Valentine's sale, the New Year's sale.
Well, people have to start thinking, first of all, about any sale, whether it's Christmas sale, whatever sale, it's all trickery to get you to spend your money, period. Not to remember the holiday, not to reminisce on the holiday, not to help people who went through it and help them grieve through the holiday. So if you're a parent, this is the way for them to get you to spend your money. Think of it that way.
You know what I see a lot of on Martin Luther King birthday that irritates the crap out of me is this Martin Luther King comedy bashes and Martin Luther King comedy jams and Martin Luther King just parties. They have the parties, you know.
Right. Water it down. Water it down.
Advertise on like Instagram or Facebook or something like that. These Martin Luther King parties, you know, like come on, that's the article. Go to a party.
You're right.
We're gonna wrap it up. Glendine Carter says my hat has me looking like a state trooper. Hey Glendine, do you know why I pulled you over? So we're gonna wrap it up. And as always, we're gonna try to close out with a final thought, or final word, or final comment, or anything you have on today. For me, I'm gonna go first. I just don't see a downside to the teaching of critical race theory. I don't see a downside to it. I mean, we're not gonna be lying to the kids. I mean, there's things that has been distorted about history in America, and we're just gonna tell the kids the truth. And isn't that what every parent wants? The kids to be taught the right way. This is the right way. You know what I mean? So I really don't understand. But I'm saying I don't understand, but I do understand, because the way America is structured, it was structured for white people, by white people, and it's been working for them for the last how many hundreds of years. So they don't want to mess with that because it's working for them.
Yes.
So I do understand it, but we have to push forward. We have to, you know what I mean? We have to push forward with this critical race theory, because they need to know why we are so upset, why we are so frustrated. Otherwise, it just looks like we're crazy. Why are those black people in the street yelling again? You know what I mean? So I think this critical race theory would fix that. Preach, I'm going to go to you since I went to you last.
Yeah, I think critical race theory is important. I think Juneteenth is important. It's a small step in the right direction, as long as he continues to take the rest of the steps and finish off the rest of the things that they promised. I think that we need to learn about things like the ratification of the 13th Amendment by Mississippi, a state, and why was it let to go until 2013? Why was it, how did that get to that far? Why was it not brought up before then? It's ridiculous that something like that can go on. So technically, there were still slaves. Slavery was still legal in Mississippi. So things like that are going on. And when we start to look at the laws within the states and in the country, and the things that are set up either financially or educationally, that's how we start to dismantle this systemic racism. Back to you, Carl.
All right, Desi, your final thoughts on
three things. Number one, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there and the fathers that have passed.
Thank you. Norma Staley said happy Father's Day to us earlier. Thank you, Norma. Go ahead, Desi.
We appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Number two, since this is Juneteenth and we know that we need reparations, we need to be restored. Let's think of ways for next year on how we can get America to buy into our restoring us to our proper place, the people who built the country. So maybe we'll do a GoFundMe for all black people. I'll be in charge of the account. And then my last point is what I think we want to do is going forward, we want to get more viewers. If you think this show is valuable, please share it with somebody. And I'm just curious to see how high we can get our viewership for just 1 week. So as long as the panel agrees, we'll come up with. We want to get everyone to just tune in for 1 week, maybe next week. We want to see everyone share, and so we can get a gauge on if we're being effective. We're open to feedback. We're constantly improving. We got a great panel. We really try hard. We're dedicated, and we love to share, and we love each other. Let's get support. We need to get support because we're trying to help people on a global scale.
All right. And Tanya, I'm going to come to you. But I wanted to, well, this is a show for another topic, but Tariq mentioned oxtail coons in his, I knew when that comment was a dig at the black people from the Caribbean that come to America and say that they don't understand why black Americans pretty much don't behave themselves. And so I've never heard the term oxtail coons before.
Oxtail coons. Wow.
He's funny like a comedian. He's really
yeah. But he said he wasn't talking about all people from the Caribbean. He said there's some of us, and he was right. There's some of us that come here, like the girl Tanya talked about that got up in the town hall meeting at her school or whatever and said Black Americans are ungrateful. So but that's a show for another. That's a topic for another show. Go ahead, Tanya.
Well, just I have something to say to both parties. If you are white and you're proud, that's great. Be proud, but know when you're wrong and know when it's time to get the narrative a little shifted to the right narrative so that we can all get along. Because that's kind of what I would like one day, to us not have to be worrying about these tit for tats and going back and forth. I mean, I hear people saying all the time, oh, you guys are complaining all the time, or you always talk about race. We have no choice. What do you want? If you think that's exhausting, try being Black, okay? But this is who we are, and this is what's going on, so we have to address it. So if you're white and you're not on the same page as us, that's cool, but you need to get on the page or step to the side so we can get things done in this country and do the right thing by everybody. And everybody meaning not just us would benefit from history being taught the correct way, but you would also benefit, and your kids would also benefit, because now they don't keep growing up with the lie and passing the lie forward. So if you don't agree with that, then that's telling me you want to keep the lie going. You want to keep the lie going forward, and you like your privilege, which I understand that. But you got, at some point, you got to let it go and keep the truth, especially if you claim yourself to be a Christian. We won't go there. And lastly, for my African Americans and everybody who's in alliance with us, vote. If you don't vote, the little guy at the little town hall office, they get to be the president and the vice president and the senator. That's how they get there. It started local. You got to start researching who is in your town hall, your town board. If you live in a little town, see who's our mayor and who's your this and what does he do? What's his role? Who do I write to get to let them know, express my opinions about what's going on? Because if they don't hear you, they don't see you. That's it.
Yeah, Pamela Jones said Juneteenth they'll give us the date, a day to party, but will they give us our right to vote? And that she had mentioned that as one of the things Biden needs to do. He needs to stop the Republicans from trying to stop
sitting around
voter suppression laws. Yeah,
yes, that's very very important. He needs to really put put together a committee or something, because that voting is what's going to kill us.
We need to be writing letters. If you're out there, you need to be writing letters effectively. Get 10 of your friends to write letters. You got to do it. If you don't make a voice, you do not get heard, period.
Yeah. What Black people need to ask themselves, what are they so afraid of? You see how hard they're pushing to get us to suppress our vote? Why? There's got to be something to it.
Yeah, but they don't need to ask no more, Carl. They need to just show action. If they don't have that little piece of paper, if they're not voicing their opinion, they don't show up at the White House, they don't show up at these meetings, these legislator, whatever going on, guess what? You don't exist. And that's why we've been bamboozled so long, because some of us are just getting hip to the voting part. We're like, oh, let me get out and vote. But that wasn't always a thing, which is why everybody's like, yeah, who cares about them? Just tell them something good. They're going to listen and think everything's great. And by the time they know we've been bamboozled, it's too late. That's what's been going on. And now people have to realize that piece of paper, voting, is everything. That's why they want to suppress it. That's why you got to take advantage of it while you have it.
Yes, absolutely. Kev, your final thoughts or comments on, why, the critical race theory is so scary, or and you said they're making fun of our Juneteenth holiday. Can we just ignore them? Screw them and just let them make fun of our. Should we just be able to ignore them and let them do what they do? Because that's we know they're gonna.
It's good for your mental health, I guess. It's also good to know your enemy and keep your eye on your enemy,
right?
And see what they're doing. So that's one of the reasons I don't delete hundreds of my Facebook friends. I hate to use the word friends, but because I keep my eye on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
a lot of these guys are my colleagues. A lot of these guys are guys I broke bread with, traveled with, worked with, over the years as a professional entertainer. So you know, and now I see this other side from them. That's, you know, like, wow, really?
Yeah.
I've known you for 25 years, you know,
Right.
so that's just what it is. So you want to keep your eye on them, man, you know.
Yeah.
Now you kind of accept it, you know, who they are, you know, and that's a good thing, I guess, you know. As disappointed as it is, it's still a good thing to know. Now you know. So yeah, man. I mean, you know, I think we need, you know, these kids, these white kids that they don't want to teach this to are going to find out about it anyway. And that's the reality. I mean, they're eventually going to become teenagers and then adults. And two things are going to happen. They're going to be either nice people that don't give a shit about race, or they're going to be racist. You know, so that's the two choices they have, you know.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have those choices. Like, nobody's gonna go, hey, Carl, your kid's gonna grow up and they got two choices. They're gonna be either racist or not racist. 9 out of 10, your kids aren't gonna grow up racist. Like, I keep saying this over and over again, and I hate to say it because I know we have white people that watch our show that love our panel, but it's just not in our DNA, you know, to do some of the things that have been done to us, you know. That's a harsh reality, man. And that's what it is. I mean, that's what it is, Carl. That's the harsh reality is that when you have to spend so much time hiding your past, so much time lying about your past, or just apologizing for your past, or just making up shit. Like, I wouldn't want to be white. I got to spend all my energy you know, defending my ancestors for being assholes, you know, to the point that now 200 years later, I still got to lie about something, because the argument is, well, I don't own any slaves. You're right, you don't. So why is it so hard to talk about the ones that did? You don't own any slaves. You're not racist. Your kids go to school with black kids. You have black kids over your house hanging out with your kids, probably. You know, your daughter or your son might be dating somebody from another race. You are not racist. So why is it a big problem, you know, to teach this? Because the people that are, like the lady with the crocodile fake tears that in the beginning of our show, she's racist. In the story. You can cry all you want and pretend that you're sincere. You're racist, and that's why you're crying, because you don't want your kids to know that you're racist. That's what I saw. You're racist. A lot of racist people don't want to believe they're racist, and they don't want their kids to know they're racist. And I think that has a lot to do with it too, you know.
Yeah, I think a lot of white people, I just can't. I only think a lot of white people, I just can't help being racist. I just can't help it. I'm racist. I don't know why. I just can't help it. I just don't like black people. I mean, you know, I just don't. That seems to be the running theme. And like, they're racist and they only like white people, and I don't know why. It's just what I feel.
My Facebook friend who put the post up today, you know, that was trying to make jokes about the holiday, he'll be the first to tell you he's not racist because he has black friends in the industry. You know, he's good friends with Jimmy Walker, for example. Jimmy Walker stays at his house when he's in town. You know, I mean, I know him very well. I work for him. You know, so but you know, so he could say, oh, because I'm good friends with Jimmy Walker, I'm not a racist. You know, that don't mean you're not a racist. You know.
Well, John Wayne Gacy? Most serial murderers had wives, but they still went out and killed women.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? They left their wives and daughters at home and went out and killed women.
A lot of them, yeah. A lot of them, yep.
Yeah, so that blows that theory out of the water.
Exactly.
Well, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks to Pamela Jones for all the comments. Spam, we love you. Thank you so much. Gina Fiore, our number one fan. Thank you, Gina.
Happy Father's Day, by the way. Happy Father's Day to everybody on the panel.
Oh, yeah. Happy Father's Day, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Happy
Father's Day. Thank you.
Norman Staley, Donna Haygood. I didn't get everyone. I'm sorry, but thanks to everyone for watching the show, and happy Father's Day to everyone on the panel. Please like and share like Desi said, please go to
Subscribe.
our YouTube page.
Subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. In case you guys didn't know, we are pretty hot on TikTok. We have a couple hundred followers, and it's rising. And all we have up is a video, but people are liking our video and commenting on our video without seeing any content. So I've been pushing us on TikTok. So we're definitely gonna be, if you're not famous on YouTube or Facebook, we definitely be hot on TikTok.
Yes.
So thanks to everyone for watching the show. We'll be here next week with another topic, another hot topic. Someone's gonna make me. I'm not gonna say it because I think it's an inside joke.
We already know.
Yeah, well, you guys know what the audience don't know.
That's why I didn't say it. I said we know.
Thanks to everyone for watching the show. We love you. We truly and absolutely appreciate you coming here every Saturday and spending your time with us. We don't take that for granted. You could have been out, Pamela could have been out doing the bump.
So, fixing her house.
Yes. So thanks to everyone for watching the show, and we will see you next week.
In Texas, you suck. Thank you.
And Texas.
Just want to point that out.
Yes.
All right, guys. Bye, everyone.